Hello, how you doing? Hey, Jeff. Patrice, welcome. We're going to start soon. Just waiting for a few people to pop on. I have 9:30, so we'll start soon. So, yeah, just 9:30. Waiting for a few more people. There's Carolyn. Welcome, Carolyn. I record these in case you've missed some. You can go into, you can ask me for the link after, and I'll send you the link to the recordings. This is part 4. If you're on mic, I just ask you to make sure your mic is, your background noise. Just monitor your background noise, okay? That'd be great. So we'll just start in a couple minutes. I've got 9:31. $9:32. Patrice, I am talking. I hope you can hear. Oh. Just want to make sure you have your sound on and speakers turned up. Okay, that's good, Carolyn. Thanks. Oh, Carolyn, yes. So we'll just we'll start in another couple minutes. Usually a bunch of people show up a little bit late. Awesome. Patrice can hear now. Yay. All right, we'll start in just another couple minutes, so just make sure you're hydrated, you got water. I've got 9:33, so we'll just start in about 2 minutes. Can everybody hear the music? Or is it just me? Got a little music going here while we wait. Okay, you don't hear any. Well, I'll turn that off then. All right, 9:34. We're going to start in about 30 seconds. And we got a big session today. Hey, Lisa, welcome. All right, 9:35. Okay, let's get going. Good morning, good morning. What a gorgeous day. Just got in from a walk, actually, and it's just going to be beautiful. So if you're going to play hooky from work and your business, today's the day. It's just absolutely stunning out. So welcome to week 4 of Selling for Success. All classes so far have been recorded. So if you need them, just let me know. You can email me later, and I'll send you the link. Welcome to Selling for Success, where we're really getting into it now. We've looked at knowing ourselves, the power of research, the power of understanding our benefits, knowing our niche. Again, research comes into play, knowing about what's driving your customer, what matters to your customer, and really honing in on a segment of the population, a segment of the market that you can really groove with. When you become a specialist, boy, big things happen. We're going to look at warming up the sales call. We did a little bit of that last week, where we talked about speaking and writing and networking and warming up the sales call, so we don't have to make so many cold calls and prospecting calls. And just a word of note before we move on, if you are on mic, just watch the background noise, and so other people are, they don't have to hear what's going on in the background. We're going to look at developing a sales action plan. Selling is a good conversation. Overcoming the fear, the things that stop us, because we do get stopped. And I've seen professional salespeople. As I think I've mentioned, I've seen professional salespeople play with paperclip models on their desk rather than make that extra call and dig a little deeper. And the importance of the relationship and staying in touch. We're also going to look at negotiation and overcoming objections and all those cool things. So welcome Dolores, Jeff, Lisa, Patrice, Susan, Carolyn. Welcome everybody to the 4th week. And a big thanks, of course, to Joe Ferrero from Sun Life Financial for making this all possible and free for you. Just to let you know that he's behind all this, and he voted with his dollars and is sponsoring this series. And also thanks to Dolores, who's awesome woman, and heads up the Vaughan Business Enterprise Center, now in their new home at the City of Vaughan's new beautiful headquarters. It's just a gorgeous facility, and they have a new office and new space, and you can meet with Dolores or Julia for one-on-one business consulting, and they have ongoing workshops. And also, I don't know, Dolores, maybe you might want to talk about the summer company program. I don't know if you're still looking for mentors, Dolores, or not.
The summer company program, can you hear me? I'm just checking.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So the summer company program is absolutely amazing for young students who are looking at operating their own business over the course of the summer. I always welcome new mentors, and we're still in time. If you're interested in giving a little bit of time or a little bit of advice to young people looking at entrepreneurship as a career choice, this is a really good opportunity to be involved. You're supported. You're supporting the center, the city supporting you, and we're helping young people as they move along. So if you're interested, please contact me or let David know, and I'll be more than happy to follow up. We're still putting our roster together. David's always supported the program, and we're so grateful to his expertise, his support for all of our businesses, but our youth in particular. He's had such an input in their success, and love to have more people on board.
Yeah, thanks, Dolores. So they're open sponges, the youth.
I know.
They're really amazing, and it's a lot of fun. And plus, you meet good people. Like you can network a little bit, and then the end of the summer barbecue or dinner is always nice to go to, right? So, yeah. So I'm going to start off with the bad news this morning. Did you do your homework? There's 2 bits of homework we had you do. One was from a few weeks ago. Think of your top 3 clients and what do you know about them now? Did you do research on them? Are there new things you can find out? And did you call 3 of your best clients to book a planning session with them to meet and discuss their needs, wants, goals, and budgets? Just doing this homework will start to, get you out there and will really torpedo your sales. You'll start to get sales and business coming. Just by meeting, even just doing the last bit here, to call 3 clients and have a meeting with them, book a planning session, watch what happens. So just before I go to that, we'll get to the other part. Yeah, so hopefully you're doing your homework along the way here. Really important. If you haven't, do it this week. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if there's a block or a challenge coming up. So I just want to review the 6-step sales process I've been talking about. And this is what we're working on. This model, the process. And process is so important. I had a coaching session last week with a client, and she walks her clients through a marketing process. And we talked about the importance of process, because it's those little steps that you take and that you need to perfect along the way in order to get you the results. If you're not doing the research, if you're not prospecting, if you're not booking that first meeting and having a discovery session or an interview with your client, if you're not working on really good presentations and perfecting your presentation skills, or practicing your presentations, if you're not practicing what you're going to say to a client on the phone, if you're not doing the work and checking in and following up and seeing how if your client's happy, if you're not doing those things, that's when you have breakdowns in your sales. That's when you're not going to get results. So you have to, if you're going to get better at sales, you have to perfect each of these steps. And there's 2 little key steps here in the presentation, and then we'll talk about them in the next couple of weeks. And that is right here in working on and delivering your presentation. You're going to have to overcome objections and be prepared to negotiate a little bit. You're going to have to plan for negotiation in a sales situation. And the old adage in negotiation is be prepared to walk away. If it's a bad deal or it compromises you in any way, or your business or your bottom line, then you have to walk away. So let's get started. We're going to look at, having conversations. We talked last week about Sally Hogshead and the 7 triggers of what makes companies fascinating. So if you want to unmute yourself or write in the meeting chat room, I can see who's writing. What companies or examples of businesses are focusing on power and prestige? Can you think of a company that uses power and prestige as a trigger to fascinate their customers, to position themselves in such a way that really where they're speaking about the power and their prestige? Can you think of anybody that does that? Any companies that's doing that well? Any comments? Give it a moment here. Yeah, car companies for sure. I like, actually, Patrice, the car company I think that does power and prestige are those. And financial investment firms do power and prestige. I think the Dodge Ram, Ram Tough, right? That's power and prestige. They hone in on that positioning strategy time and time again, so that that's what's hooking their customers. That power, Ram Tough. If it's Ram Tough, it must be good. What companies are using mystique and passion? Mystique and passion. Yeah, Nike is about power and prestige. Those Nike ads where all these athletes are, running it out full max. The different, the hockey stars and the boxers and the runners. That's all about power and prestige. What about mystique and passion? Who's using that as a way to open up a conversation or as a way to position themselves? Yeah, Carolyn, perfume companies for sure. I still think of those old ads I'm really dating myself here. The old Chanel number 5 ads with Catherine Deneuve, and she's lying down, and then this by the pool, and the airplane goes by. It's like, whoa. Yeah, Lisa, hair color and shampoo, Mystique and Passion. Yeah, Carolyn, clearly the Chanel ads worked. I still remember it today. Now, who's using Alarm and Rebellion? Alarm and Rebellion. Who's using Alarm and Rebellion? Who's rebellious? Because these are strategies. These are ways to position your company. Are you going to be use Alarm and Rebellion? Or are you going to use Mystique and Passion? The government, Alarm and Rebellion? Yeah, a little bit. Car insurance, for sure. Like environmental and health food companies. What about Apple? Aren't they kind of rebellious? You know, haven't they sort of cut their teeth on being rebellious? Like very cutting edge, creative. So much so that, you know, they're you know, remember the old I'm an Apple, I'm a Mac, or I'm a PC and I'm a Mac? Totally rebelling, right? You know, PCs, come on, right? What about the theme of trust? Who's using trust as in their marketing theme? And I think, Carolyn, you alluded to it earlier, and Lisa, banks. Yeah, for sure. They have to, right? You got to trust them. You can't trust them, you know, you wouldn't put your money there. You'd put your money in a sock in between your mattress at night, right? So really important to look at, you know, what is it that you're going to, how are you going to show up? You know, are you going to be rebellious? Are you going to be about power and prestige? Are you going to be at Alarm and Rebellion? Is it going to be about trust? How do you want to, you know, what's the strategy behind how you're going to show up, right? Yeah. So really important to look at how you're going to hook a client, whether it's at an event or on the phone. What are you going to say that's going to hook a prospective client at an event? And I think we worked on this last week, but if we haven't, let's do it again. This is it's a cool way to start a conversation, and this is a great way to announce yourself at a networking event. I find I go to networking events and people are droning on, oh, I sell insurance and yada, 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 and it's like, oh my God, put the toothpicks in my eyes now, right? But this is a cool way, and Jeff, I know I've taught you this before. What it is it's you state a problem. So this is really knowing your client, you know, like, yeah, really knowing your clients inside and out. What's the problem or the challenge or one of the big problems or challenges your clients are having, and you state the problem. Like, do you know when? And you state the problem. And then you say, well, what we do is, right? So I like, you know, the Tim Hortons idea. Do you know when it comes time to buy coffee at a drive-thru and the time it takes to do that? Well, what we do is we come to your car and take your order personally and deliver it right to your car. So that's the solution. So now you're showing up way differently at a networking function, and this is a great way to start a conversation. It's also known as your elevator pitch. So do you know when? You state the problem. What we do is. So Carolyn, you've already started, I see. So we've got Carolyn, Dolores, Jeff, Lisa, Patrice, and Susan on the call. And Carolyn says, like, you know, do you know when you're did you know that did you know that when employees are happy, they are 12% more productive? Well, what we do is we have, you know, training and development programs that get your employees more happier and help you increase your profits by 25 to 125%. Now, when you have a conversation with somebody like that, they're already intrigued. Because what you're doing is you're identifying a problem that they might have or might be experiencing, and then you're stating the outcome or the solution that you're going to provide for them. So this is a great way to sort of have a conversation, be it at a networking event, or even you can use this in your prospecting scripting as well. So try it out. Take a moment and write it out for yourself. Just think of one key problem you think your clients have, and what you do to solve it. And I want to see you write it out in the chat. Okay? A couple of people are a little quiet today. So I'll just give it a moment. I could sing to you as you write, but it's probably best I don't do that. What's the problem your clients have, and how do you solve it? Okay, another minute on this. Yeah, do you know that retaining 5% of your customers can increase your profits by 25 to 100%? What we do is work with you to create a happy staff and happy customers. That's great. That's from Carolyn. Who else would like to share? Anyone? All right, work on that. And try this at your next networking function, and you're going to realize like people are going to come up to you after and go, I want to talk to you. And you'll have much better results than droning on about how great you are and that you've been in business 20 years and you got all this experience and education and yada, yada, yada. Who cares? That's important for you, but at a networking function, when everybody else is doing the same thing, you're going to keep people asleep. So here's Jeff's. So do you know when you have business problems that keep you up at night? What we do is we help you with the what's next step. Yeah, we help you define what's next and get to the what's next. Excellent. Good. We had you do a little bit more homework, and that was to work on your opening statement. And this is I got a picture over. How many of you practiced your scripts on 5 people last week and asked for feedback? That was the homework from last week, where we had you work on your opening statements, and you were to practice it with 5 people. Did anybody do that? Show of hands. Yes, no, maybe? Okay. So that's the other homework, minus that little picture in the middle of it. So I want you to really practice this week either your opening statements or your elevator pitch here. Practice and try and hone it. The other thing with your elevator pitch, by the way, it's flexible. It's going to change depending on where you're at. Now, if you say we help, men business owners solve a problem, and you're at a women's networking event, obviously you're going to have to change it, right? So just, but I want you to practice it, okay? Half the success of this class is going to be in these webinars are going to be you doing the homework. So I want to share a quote by Peter Drucker. People buy with their hearts, not their minds, and that's by Peter Drucker. And so what do you think that means when he's saying that? Like, people buy with their hearts, not their minds. What do you think he's alluding to? What do you think that? Yeah, it's an emotional. We make an emotional decision, right? Well, I have unmuted everybody, so just watch your background noises. I'd love to have a little bit more of a flow of conversation. Lisa wrote a message about that she can't see the chat room, and unfortunately, I don't know that I can change that. I just tried to look at changing that, but I'm not sure I can. And yeah, I can. Let me know if you want me to mute you all. I can mute you all, but I've unmuted you so you can talk a little bit. So just watch the background noise if you can. And Carolyn says people's buying decisions are always emotional. People buy from those they know, like, and trust, for sure. That's it exactly. So we do buy based on emotion and feelings and where we're at. So here's a great quote from maybe I'll mute everybody again. Here's a great quote from Howard Schultz from Starbucks. He says, "We're not just selling coffee, we're selling an experience and a relationship. Emotional connection is our true value proposition." So that's Howard Schultz of Starbucks. And that you've got to realize that about your customers. They are buying based on feelings and emotions. So you've got to create a positive feelings and a positive experience and an emotional connection with people in order to get them to influence them, to not just to sell, but just to influence them, right? And when you can make sure that the buying experience or working with you is absolutely stupendous, and you offer really outstanding service, then people are going to, be hooked. They're going to want to work with you and nobody else. So, what I want you to work on today is something that I think is highly important to get to, and that is understanding what your story is. What's your core story? Because when you start to storytell, people live in story, first of all. We live in the narrative. We create stories every day. We talk about our lives as it was a story, right? We talk about our past successes. Oh, in my day, I did this, right? Or, in my day, we had dial-up phones, right? But that's storytelling. We tell stories, I don't know if you've ever taken a public transit, but you're sitting across from somebody. I don't know about you, but no, at least I don't mean your why. I mean, what's your story? How did you get to where you are? And so I'm going to discuss what I want you to write about in a second. But we live in story. If you've ever taken a rapid transit or a subway or whatever, and you're sitting across from somebody you don't know, I don't know if you ever find that your mind goes into creating a story about that person, right? You start creating a story. So we do live in the narrative of life, and that's the same in business as it is in our life. So you want to make that emotional connection. Are you making emotional connections with your audience or with your clients or with your prospects? And one way to do that is to really get clear on what's your core story. Is your story honest? Is it to the point? Does it have the audience in mind? Is it of interest to the audience or the niche or the market that you're going after? Does it involve one of the 7 triggers? Power, prestige, mystique, alarm. Does it involve some of those? Is your story topical? Is your story about good, overcoming, and winning? And Lisa wrote, is it authentic? For sure. Is it sexy? People like sexy stories. Is it relevant? Is it relevant to what's going on in today's world? So what I want you to do is I want you to work on your story for a few moments, okay? And answer these questions. So here's what I really mean, Lisa. It is kind of your why in a sense, because you're gonna write about that, but it's other things about you. And it's those other things when you can put it all together in like a core story, and you start to lead with it. And you can use your core story in a sales letter. You can use your core story on your website. You can use your core story as a way to speak. This is my journey. This is my story. This is how I got into this business. So what I want you to work on are these. What makes your company different from the other local competitors in your area? How did you get into this business? Why did you get into this business? What do you love most about what it is you do? What is the challenge your clients face, and how do you help your clients get past that challenge? Who do you love to work with as far as a client profile goes? Describe your ideal day in your business. And there's a part 2 to this. So once you're done this, we'll move on to these last points. So I really want you to work on this for the next couple minutes. This is pivotal to today's class, okay? So work on answering these questions. And when you're done, just type in the box in the meeting chat, hey, I'm done, or unmute yourself and let me know you're done. Okay? So there's gonna be a little silence here for the next couple minutes. I'll give you about 4 minutes to really work on this, okay? And I'm just gonna let the line go quiet. All right, we're getting one story in from Carolyn. A few years ago, I was shopping at the shopping mall with a large purchase at a dress shop. The clerk was so busy on what was clearly a personal phone call that the large line developed. By the time it was my turn, I was so annoyed that I asked her if she could serve her customers and hang up the phone. She just carried on, so I put all my purchases on the counter and walked out. I said, "Too bad, you've lost me as a customer." And I remember people share bad news even faster than good news. So I thought about how I could fix that problem and came up with some training programs to show employees how much they are part of the customer experience. Yeah, for sure, Carolyn, that's great. That's a, and when you start sharing that story, the right people, the right person's going to say, "Yeah, that's happened to me too," and this is, I want to change that. Carolyn, I had a similar experience about 4 or 5 years ago. It was a cold January night, and I needed a pair of dress shoes. And retail in January, it's pretty dead, right? And so I went to this shoe shop near where I live that I've had success at before. I have large feet, so my feet don't look great in shoes sometimes. And I gotta, anyway. So I went to this shoe store near where I live on Keele and Finch. And I'm there, walking around and looking for a pair my size, and I'm not finding anything. And the two girls at the front desk are just chatting it up, having a great conversation, and not even a hello or can I help you and I walked out of the store after kind of watching them for about a good 7 minutes, and I couldn't find anything in my size, anything nice that was, and maybe 10 minutes or so, and I walked out. And then the next day I called the company and said, I got a really bad experience. I never heard from the company, from the head office. They could have said, we've listened to you, we've made a change, we've rectified it, we'd like to give you a $10 coupon, whatever. Something, it had a true opportunity to fix the problem. And this happens all the time. And it's like, I've never been back in my, I've never been back to that store, and I doubt I'd ever go back to that store. Same thing happened to me at a Second Cup, where it was a pouring, raining day. And I was waiting for a friend of mine to show up for coffee, and so I just waiting in the front of the store, and the owner said, "This isn't a waiting area," and I said, "Yeah, but it's pouring rain. I'm waiting to meet a friend for coffee, and we're gonna do business here, and I come here all the time." So that that just totally why you're gonna send me back outside in the pouring rain? Crazy. And Lisa says that happened at the Gap, and they responded as soon as possible with a gift card and apology. That's it. Just shut up and apologize. If you're wrong, just apologize. That's all people want, just an apology or to be heard, right? And Carolyn writes, employees don't realize how important they are to the customer experience. Totally. Let's work more on our stories. And because of that, you would shop there again. You know what? I would too. If somebody apologized and gave me a gift card, you know what? Okay. Maybe somebody had a bad day. I could get that. But to not even follow up and call, whoa. Those are fighting words. So let's work on the rest of your story. I want you to think, can you recall of an ultimate success moment? What happened? How did you help that client? What motivated you to do what you do today? And was there a pivotal moment that helped you do what you do in your business? If so, what was it? What happened? Carolyn, you've already alluded to it with the being in line buying a dress. What was that pivotal moment that helped you do what you do in your business? And if so, what happened? Take a few moments to work on this, okay? Really important, people. This is an hour you give yourself. You're investing in yourself. You're investing in your success. And if you do the work, you're going to really succeed. You watch. You got to do the work. So I'll just be quiet here for a moment, and we'll take 3 minutes on this. 3 minutes starting now. Hopefully you're working on this. All right, we're starting to get some feedback. You can work on it for another couple of minutes. Carolyn states, I think there's a feeling today that staff don't need training, that technology can fix anything. It doesn't. People still like to be served by people. And if the staff don't know how, then it's up to a company to take this on as a responsibility. I've been training people for years, so I knew it was something I could help businesses with. Yeah, exactly. What's your motivation? That's Lisa, you alluded to it before. This is your why. What motivated you to do what you do today? And Patrice says, yeah, it comes back to emotional connection, the emotional connection. It's the emotional connection that your people have with customers. So as much as we're into our technology and we're texting and we're Facebooking and we're tweeting, and the emotional connection is probably more important now than ever before. It's funny, I was on my walk this morning and I walked by a couple of people. I don't walk by a lot of people in the morning. And, some people you can say a friendly hello to, and some people are so engrossed in their own world that they won't even bother to wave or say a good morning to you. And it's kind of sad to see a little bit, just say a friendly hello to a passerby. One person, was tapped into their iPad listening to music with the headphones on. And just a nice hello, a smile, a wave even, makes all the difference in the world. It really does. So Patrice says, I've been in the hospitality industry most of my life. Some of my most successful stories involved meeting the emotion that was below the actual situation. This motivates you every day. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, it's really about, the successful companies today really connect on a deep emotional level. You look at Virgin Airlines, with the red carpet treatment and how they, people board a plane, right? And Patrice, Carolyn wants to hook up with you after, so I can facilitate that if you get in touch with me. But you look at like Virgin Airlines, how it's an experience when you go in on Virgin Airlines, or Porter Airlines, really big experience there. No lineups, no waiting. They serve Starbucks. You board the plane right away, right? That's all about experience. Lisa states, I see many occasions where business people could improve the way that they relate and serve seniors. Yeah, totally. So that's your why. You want to see improvement. You want to see change. So there's the old trigger, the motivational trigger we talked about, Lisa. And that's, you want to see change. Everybody here wants to see change. So we go back to what makes you fascinating. This is based on Sally Hogshead book. This is about alarm and rebellion, right? About changing. I want to see change. I want to see I want to see a better society. And I think that's really triggering a lot of business owners these days. Why? Because you're seeing this more and more social purpose enterprises are opening up. And when these are business owners that are doing something that's affecting change on the planet, making society a better place. Yeah, and what's motivating Lisa here is, and Adele, welcome, and I'm glad you're here. I'll send you after the recording of this, so whatever you missed, you can catch up on. Sometimes just simple education and a few modifications can really help, and because we'll all be seniors one day soon. And Carolyn says that's a fabulous market. People think that only the young people have money and that seniors have no money. It's not true. We all have no money, Carolyn. No, I'm just kidding. And anyway, and for those that do have to watch their pennies, they still do it with friendliness and dignity, for sure. They are a great market. So yeah, whatever market you choose is a great market. As long as there's a need and they need what you got and they have money, that's a great market. All right, now the last piece I want you to write about, and this is kind of cool. What do you do to improve your skill sets? What do you do to improve your skill sets? What do you do? Do you belong to any associations, networking groups? Do you give back to the community? If so, how? Because this is also part of your story, right? We're a company that cares. Why? Well, you know what? You heard Dolores at the top of today's call saying that, I give of my time to as a volunteer mentor for the Youth Summer Company program. Maybe somebody wanting to work with me or hiring me, maybe that matters to them, right? That not only do I make money, but I also give of my time and help younger people succeed, and I'm building entrepreneurs. Sometimes I don't even think about it that way, but doing volunteer work is really important, and it's important to give back to the community and let your clients know that it's okay that you do. Not blatantly, but just subtly, right? And then the last question is, what makes you so lovable? I want you to work on that for a moment. And Lisa says, I volunteer with the Bathurst Finch Network, hoping to be a mentor with Summer Company as well. And in the next 15 years, seniors will represent 25% of our population. I say that's probably more, but anyway. Yeah. So just take a few moments just to write this, and let's hear from you. Some of you aren't writing. Susan, Jeff. I'll just be quiet for another moment. It's 10:15. What makes you so lovable? Is it your sense of humor? Your creativity? It's that little thing that you've got that nobody else can match. All right, Jeff. Thanks, man. Notes are good. Working offline is good, too. Adele says, I'm involved in 2 different training programs, one teaching me to present from the stage and one teaching me how to create joint ventures. She belongs to Cowie. I give back to the community by volunteering in the neighborhood and giving to charities. What makes me lovable? Good question. Your capacity to listen. That's excellent. So you want to share that. You want to share that you're vibrant and you're part of society and you're part of making the community a better place to live. You want to share that maybe in your bio or in your story, or write that. Yeah, include that for sure in your bio. Lisa says what makes her lovable is spirit and humor. Carolyn writes, I consider myself an enabler. I make things happen. I volunteer at the farmers market. I join in the networking groups. I attend webinars like this one. I have a fabulous business coach. I wonder who that could be. I'm still working on the lovable part too. Oh, Carolyn, I think you're hugely lovable. You're kind, caring, and compassionate. Lisa says compassionate. Patrice says, what makes me so lovable is showing up most times. And Patrice, it's as simple as that. Woody Allen, I'm going to quote Woody Allen. He said that 99% of success is just showing up. And, sometimes just being present, just being there for somebody. Like Adele alluded to, she's a good listener. Just being there, listening. You don't have to say anything. Just be there. Just show up. Makes the world of difference. Carolyn states, one of the Mary Kay quotes is, those who show up, go up. Yeah, I like that. Excellent. So here's the thing I want to get across. Storytelling is everything in marketing. Okay? That's why I want you to work on your story. And if you want to work on it this week, by all means. It's both the means and the ends. Understanding our story and the journey we've been through helps us figure out so much about our businesses, our niche, and what we have to offer. Sharing our story helps potential clients really feel into whether or not you are a fit for them. Is the experience you've gone through something that they can relate to? Tell your story and attract the right client. Here's why you want to tell your story. Truth is that marketing is generally boring. It's boring because in most cases it talks above, around, or through the audience rather than to the audience. Are you offering a solution without witnessing the problem? Are you speaking in terms your customer can relate to? From the time of villagers sitting around the fire, stories are what have led people to move toward their vision. Stories work because they're not boring to the right people. When you use stories in your marketing and your messaging and your sales conversations, you allow your customers to experience the need you're trying to solve in a way that's easily understood and memorable. It's also safe because it creates enough distance between you and your reader or the listener or your audience and their problem, and that they're able to see it from an objective point of view. This is the power of telling your story. Chances are, and it also helps you differentiate yourself from your competitors, because chances are you're not the only one offering a solution to the problem. And with computer and Wi-Fi access, your customer can probably find a number of those solutions at a moment's notice. Just click on Google. So what separates you from them? The answer is you. Telling your own story accomplishes three things when talking to your market or your audience. It communicates the purpose or the why you do what you do. It establishes credibility that is not dependent on being first or better or cheaper or faster than your competition. It builds trust that you can solve their problem because you've experienced the problem yourself and you've solved it. You found a way to solve it. So here are some sample stories. Here's a recent client story. My client's mom was a very successful doctor, and it was always expected that she become a doctor too. But the trouble was she didn't want to be a traditional doctor, and so the internal struggle of balancing her own and others' expectations began. She spent years learning everything from psychology to hypnotherapy to help her deal with this inner struggle until she found her solution. Now she's a doctor who solves problems of a different kind by helping others who want to find joy but struggle with expectations. I spent a great deal of my life achieving approval by modifying my image to gain acceptance from those around me. Those skills were invaluable in marketing my first business right up until the point that when they weren't. That's when the struggle of surviving and changing with the whims of my customers and competitors became overwhelming. With my experience with storytelling and business, spiritual practices, and a willingness to look inward for my answers, I found a new heart-centered branding solution that worked for me. And I now work with other small business owners to help them through that same transformation. That's her story. That's her journey. Can you relate to that on a much different level? So she's a doctor, sort of marketing and helping clients discover their own story. Do you see it? So really start to craft your story. Really work on your stories. So why stories work? Well, who would you trust to help you with a problem? Someone who's certified to help you, or someone who's lived the problem and found a solution? Your story of how you struggled and solved the problem that you now help others with is a perfect way to share that experience with your customers in a way that they can understand, remember, and relate to. And if I were going to add anything to this concept, it would be that it's also helpful to look at your early accomplishments. They can be windows to your niche, since many times they are what reinforce your beliefs and expectations. So I hope you got the importance of storytelling, niche markets in your storytelling, you sharing your story to help your customers determine that you can provide the right solution for them. So in that they work together. As you understand your niche, you're able to share stories from your life that better serve your customers. Just as when you explore your story, you'll find it can help you self-select your niche. Comments? Questions? Yes, no, maybe? Anybody? Bueller? Really important to know who your customers are. How will you be able to access whether you're meeting their needs, since success depends on you being able to meet customers' needs and desires? You must know who your customers are, what they want, where they live, what they can afford. Really, really vital. Thanks, Carolyn. Carolyn says storytelling is an excellent technique. Know your story, understand your niche, for sure. They're very related. So how many of you have heard this one? I like this one. We've all heard the business owner said, oh, great idea, You could sell to everybody, right? You ever heard of that one? My product is terrific. It appeals to everybody. And but many of us have also seen small businesses try to do that. They try to be all things to all people. And to me, that's difficult, if not impossible. So targeting your market is simply defining who your primary customer is going to be. And your market should be measurable, sufficiently large, and reachable. So case in point, let's say you're a printer. So let's take your local neighborhood printer. And a printer's target of mid-sized firms with mid-sized project is not a measurable definition. However, a target market of firms within a radius of 20 miles with annual revenues of $10 to $25 million and a need for four-color printing runs of approximately 5,000 pieces is a clearer definition. Yeah, when you're not niched, it's like throwing Jell-O against the wall and hope it sticks, as Carolyn points out. So I have a local printer that I use in my neighborhood, and I guarantee they don't know who their customer base is. They have a storefront, and they hope that the right people walk in. But sometimes they don't walk in. They don't even know they're there. So you have to reach out. But you have to know who you're going to reach out to. You have to know what's going to make your ideal client. You don't have to, maybe your ideal target market is within a radius of 20 miles. And then what you do is you go to the library or your Vaughan Business Enterprise Center, and you look up Scott's directory, and you find companies in that area that make $10 to $25 million. Do you know that information is there at the snap of your fingers? Just go on to Scott's directory. And then you start to market and promote and call and have conversations and share your story, right? Carolyn writes, they use the next mindset instead of understanding that clients will be repeat clients if you just treat them with kindness, respect, and good service. Exactly. So you got to really, pinpoint who your market is going to be. A market really is any group of actual or potential buyers of a product or service. And there's three types of markets. There's the consumer market, that's B2C, individuals and households who buy goods for their own use or benefit. That's part of the consumer market. And, when you go to the grocery store, the drugstore, or, Walmart or whatever, those are, most common types of consumer products, right? You buy things at the store for use at home. The other markets you want to be mindful of are industrial markets. These are individuals, groups, or organizations that purchase your product or service for direct use in producing other products or for their use in their day-to-day operations. That's the B2B market. And then the last is the reseller market, middlemen or intermediaries such as wholesalers, retailers who buy finished goods and then resell them for a profit. Adele asks, is it okay to have two markets? Yeah, I think it is. You don't want to, overcomplicate things. So as you know, you have a four-step process that people break free from blocks. I use it to help people to break people free of the fear of asking for the sale, and I also have clients who eat compulsively. Yes, definitely. So you have a B2C and a B2B, and I'm okay with that, Adele. I think it's important. But then what you want to do is you really want to then focus a little bit more, like who, in terms of the consumer market, who's having this problem. Is there a group that you think is really experiencing this problem, and then identifying that group, and then identifying how you can tap into that group. And if it's companies, that you're working with, the fear of asking for a sale, then it's companies who have sales teams. And maybe the sales teams are new reps, right? Maybe it's like new reps to the industry. So the financial service industry, for example, always getting new reps. So maybe they do have a more of a fear for asking for the sale than somebody who's more seasoned, right? So you might want to niche in that sector alone, the financial services sector. Or you might want to niche in the real estate sector, where there's new people coming into the real estate market all the time, and they have a hard time maybe prospecting and drumming up business, right? So, yeah, you can have two, but really try and focus, right? Really hone in. So here are some steps to follow when you want to identify your market. You want to identify, first of all, why does a customer want to buy your good or service, right? Why does somebody want to buy what you have? And then you want to segment your overall market and research your market. So as I said, there's three types of markets, B2B, B2C, and then the industrial wholesale. So what I want you to do, we have a couple minutes left on the call today, is think of your ideal market. So Adele, you mentioned companies who or salespeople who have a fear of asking for the sale. So think of those companies. Where do they network? Okay, MLMs are fine. So where are MLMs? Where are multi-level marketing people networking? What trade associations or business groups are they with? What might they be with or members of? What media or social media or mass media are they tapped into? What are your clients? What do you think they're doing for fun time and leisure? Who else is selling to that market? What other business is selling to that market that you're going after? And who might you joint venture with? Who might you team up with where you can team up and offer your goods and services? I want you to think about this, because this is this chart here, this is the genesis of your marketing plan. All right? This is where you start to connect with people and connect to your market. And it takes 9 to 11 contacts just to get the appointment. And so if you're there and they see you at a networking event, if they hear you on the phone, if they see you speaking at their trade associations, if they see you adding value and sharing good ideas and messages on social media, if you're sponsoring their kids' soccer team, or you're golfing with them at the golf club, or you're joint venturing with another provider that's selling to that market, then all of a sudden they start to get to know you, and they start to build a trust, and they start to build a relationship. And then that sale starts to happen. So I want you to think of your market and where they're hanging out, what they're doing in all of these categories. Any questions? Just take a couple minutes just to do one line. Just do one. And we're almost done. Yeah, I want you just to work on this real quick. I'm going to unmute you all. So watch the background noise. I'm going to unmute so we can have a really nice goodbye. And we're back next Monday. Okay. You're unmuted now, so I hope you're working on this. Thanks, Carolyn. Great call today. I think so. So I was working with a human resource professional company last week, and so where does she network? Well, for her clients, they network at the Board of Trade. Thanks, Adele. They belong to various business associations and groups. So the Board of Trade is one of them. BNI might be another one. So she's going to start to join or go to these BNI meetings, the Board of Trade, maybe there's a trade show. There's a trade show she can speak at or talk to, or a trade association that she can get into. And then, maybe she'll write an article in she's an HR professional, so maybe she's tapping into the HRPAO, which is the Human Resource Professionals Association of Ontario. And maybe she's tapping into their local meetings every month, or writing articles or supplying them with articles. Maybe she finds out her clients really love to golf. So she'll go to the golf course and she'll golf, right? And meet her clients. Or maybe she'll even do a talk at the golf course. I know a few people who do that at their golf course. And she knows that there's a lawyer that's selling to the same market she's going after. They're a labor lawyer, labor law firm, or a labor law firm. And she's joint venturing with that labor law firm this week, actually, to deliver a workshop at their a local through the local board of trade. So she's now really connecting with her clients on all levels, and she's getting to build a relationship, and she's getting known. So I really want you to look at your market and start to get active, start to be in action around, networking and joining networking groups and going to proper networking groups. Tap into trade associations where you think your market is. Make sure that the media you're buying or writing or speaking on is tapping in to where you think your market is. Do something for fun and leisure. I know one client is going to sponsor a soccer team. Why? Because that's where their market is. They're soccer moms. Who else is selling to this market? What other businesses can you maybe team up with in joint venture? So that's it. So I want you to complete the marketing chart and reach out and research doing one thing to connect to your market this week. That's your homework. Complete the marketing chart and do one thing to connect to your market. Any questions? Any questions at all? This is where you get a hold of me. I got to change this. I'm not doing the radio show anymore. But any questions? That's where you need. If you want to email me, Patrice and Caroline, email me, and then I'll link you two up. And I just want to thank Dolores again, and Jeff, and Lisa, and Patrice, and Susan, and Adele, and Carolyn, and everybody on the call. It was a great call, and I want to thank Joe again at Sun Life, and I wish you a beautiful week. We're going to reconvene next Monday at 9:30, and we're in week 5 already, if you can believe. And Adele will get the recording, I hope, if not by later today, by first thing tomorrow. Is that okay? So I should have it up and ready to go by first thing tomorrow. So that's it. Thank you, everybody. Have a really, really beautiful day.